young players. Cuz and BDD, both 1999 births. So lots of young players means that we'll see how the meta shakes out as BBQ's like, well, I saw your perfect Orianna, no more.
Yeah, BDD's going to have to do it on a different champion this time around, and I'm personally quite happy about it. I mean, Papa Smithy, I believe we sat down and you said, well, I just hope we don't see his Orianna again, which we're certainly not going to.
I want to see more, you know, I want to see more information about...
And it's not that we don't like his Orianna or anything like
his
that.
Orianna was great. He had swagger and then some, but I want to see the Zed. I want to see the other BDD picks. His assassin side has always been the one that has interested me the most.
I want to see the Ari, things like that.
So the bans here are interesting. So Longzhu's banning Kennen on blue side. I thought that the red side must bans would be Kennen and Zac. Feels like those are the champions that no one wants to allow through. But now we get to that interesting point where it's like, hey, how much Zac have you actually played? So do you have to ban it on blue side because you're not willing to first pick it? Longzhu's saying, no, we're confident in playing the Zac, so they'll ban away Jace. Always been a standby attempt. We'll see what BBQ want to do. Still a lot available.
Certainly is. I think BBQ would be forced into this Zac ban, though, theoretically, because he's pretty silly at the moment, even with the slight touch to that stretching strike.
It'd be ridiculous to leave up Zac on this patch. I think you have to ban it, but they're really considering to the last second.
Goodness.
One of the things that people might not appreciate is that in Korea, jungle Zac, sure, that's a thing, but people here really rate support Zac as well. So it feels like Zac is a true flex pick, at least based on what the Korean pro players are saying. So the fact that it's already oppressively strong, but a flex pick as well, is usually a good indication that you just ban it away. And speaking of oppressive picks, Elise has jumped up tiers in Summer Seas. It's been contested in basically every game. And we've said in the past, okay, it opens up AD solo laners, it gives you flexibility, but people are taking Elise over every jungle champion short of the Zac.
Yeah, and of course, Cuz already playing it in Game 1 against KT as well. I believe the scoreline was something like 4-1 and 3. The guy did very, very well.
Still kind of looking for information on Cuz. If you look back on that series, it was kind of BD and Khan both winning lane, and Cuz was just kind of chilling, and that didn't put a lot of impetus on the jungle. So whether BBQ target out Cuz, that was actually done by KT in Game 2 when Elise was banned, or at least look for level 1 action to try and put him on the back foot, because we saw Mowgli, for example, struggle when he was put on the back foot by KT Rolster back in spring on his debut. I feel like Cuz has gotten a free ride so far. We know he's talented, but his performance on the top level is still to be evaluated.
Yeah, and of course with laners like Khan and BDD, who are very, very strong laning players just in general, you know.
From what we've seen.
Yeah, from what we've seen. And of course, Khan has always rated himself as a laning player and can get a little bit emotional as well. I mean, he came from the Chinese scene. China is always about, can I dumpster my opponent in lane? That is just how it works.
I see someone flashing a champion close to your heart, Atlas.
Oh, tempt. I will become a blatant BBQ fan right now.
I'm already a blatant BBQ fan. The food's great.
No, I'm saying blatant, as in like fully bias every single cast, like horrendousness.
That's what we pay you for, Atlas.
Thankfully, he's not going to lock away the Mordekaiser.
And Bless will jump onto the Lee Sin, which wasn't a huge pick for him back in spring. His Rek'Sai was actually the champion that we saw the most. He was playing Rek'Sai when no one else was. Kha'Zix, Rek'Sai, and Rengar, his big picks. Rengar kind of out of the picture now, so jumping on to the Lee Sin. So far, pretty standard drafts. If you didn't join us the last couple of days, you might be surprised to see Thresh so high, but with the Doran shield changes, feels like Thresh was one of the supports unaffected, and Zyra was one of the ones hit. So Thresh is now higher priority support than Zyra, which, you know, rewind a month and that would be insane to say.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're looking at these bottom lanes, you're thinking, oh, well, they got the Varus Zyra priority, you know, but no, that's not what happened at all. BBQ opting in for that bottom lane immediately.
And they're banning away the Ashe that Prey was once again completely on point with. We all know how good Prey's Ashe is, specifically his arrows. Feels like there's a highlight every time he plays Ashe with the Ashe arrow, so that's why he's jumped on the Varus. He
needs a bow, so he's got another bow and it's absolutely fine. Now 100% bows for this whole season thus far.
Double top lane bans to Longzhu. Khan's most played and most feared champion is actually the Fiora, and he's getting respect on the Kled as well. So double banning and not including the Jarvan that was a bit of a star maker for him on the first day lets you know that people are fearing Khan to put 2 bans into him already.
Oh, the Lucian ban coming in, and I actually don't like it because I wanted to see Tempt playing something like the Lucian.
Well, if you wanted to see it, there's probably a good reason that Longzhu doesn't want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and here's the plan. Crazy is going to take away the Jarvan.
So now the two picks I've heard talked about are being taken into Jarvan. Because the moment I saw Jarvan dominate, I'm like, wait, okay, rewind, what's good here? Renekton and Rumble are the two picks I've heard that are really strong. You can understand Renekton getting in there and messing up the Jarvan, that part. And most melee laners makes a lot of sense, and it will be the Renekton. So
walking it away.
Always a bit risky to take the pick into the person who innovated it. And will we see the Zed? We do!
Oh, we do! Zed locked away for BDD. This is exactly what you wanted, Papa Smitty.
What did
it's
we
like
say,
it's your
baby?
birthday.
We said Elise. Let's see some AD laners. Zed is certainly one of those.
And talk about early lane oppression as well. I mean, both of these champions incredible in the laning phase. Longzhu setting themselves up quite nicely here, but BBQ, if they can last, things might be okay. And Tempt looking at a tried and true favorite here on the Cassiopeia, and he is going to lock that one away.
It may be comfort, but this is certainly no easy matchup outside of the early levels for the Cassiopeia. Itemization can be a little bit interesting as well. Tier into the tier into the Zonias is probably going to have to be the way, but you can't necessarily go for Rod of Ages like we saw Faker building back at MSI. The laning phase is certainly pain for any melee champion, and Zed falls there as well. He's also, the miasma stops him from being able to use his W, but blind pick Zed. We knew there was swagger about Longzhu. So many young players, and these 17-year-olds, they're going to keep fighting fire with fire.
And BDD way up the top of solo queue at the moment, probably on a bit of a high at the moment, Papa Smithy. So more than happy to throw the gauntlet down. And I'm super excited to see how this one's going to go. Even this top side of the map, which is normally a boring place to be watching, it's going to be hype.
Yeah, Crazy's had a lot of hype around him, but taking the Jarvan into the person who's shown it, you'd expect there to be answers coming through from Khan, and that's why he's gone for the Renekton. BDD blind picking Zed is the sort of thing I've wanted to see for over a year now. And Prey, rank 1 in solo queue, taking on Ghost on Comfort. He was playing Caitlyn out of meta, now very much in the middle of the meta. This is hype, and again, that's the great thing about jumping to summer season. A matchup that will be going, not really considered, is now a very interesting one as Longzhu could exit week 1 2-0.
Yeah, and I absolutely love how Longzhu have actually decided to play out this draft as well. You've got tried and true comp on the bottom side of the map, Varus and Zyra, and then you've got the crazy picks on the top side. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to waste no more time. Let's get into game number 1. Let's hit the rift.
Maybe some issues here as we're still waiting to load in Atlas. We're still working out some of the kinks.
A little bit excited there, but I believe we've started off with a little bit of a pause.
I can tell because the Korean casters are still talking. BDD fans, all fans around the world, so excited to see him jumping on the Zed. That's the part that excites me the most. You might think he hasn't been practicing, but you check the solo queue, plenty of Zed in the match history. Definitely goes for it whenever it's available. So just a couple of moments, I guess, before we're able to load into game. The hype is still there. It's tempered for a second, but the moment we hear that sweet intro music, we get to see Longzhu now again with expectation. And it feels like expectation has kind of always been something that's haunted Longzhu gaming, because whenever we built them up, they've kind of collapsed under expectation. Now, other factors certainly have been there, but we're hoping those things are gone. I think finally we can get back into game.
Certainly hope so. We are scanning over the players now. Let's do it. Let's get into the game. Some passionate fans in the audience for a bit of an early start here today, Papa Smithy.
It's a bit of a tough ask, unfortunately. When summer opens up, if you're understandably unaware of the educational calendar. People are still at school, so making a 5 p.m. start on a weekday is a lot to ask. So
honestly, it feels like a lot to ask any student to ever come out ever.
Well, theoretically, when they're done with their schooling and they're on holiday, they're a bit more free to make 5 p.m. engagements.
True.
But we're both professional casters. We know that 5 p.m. is sometimes a bit early, so we start to fill up a little bit later than that. But they're missing out on BDD's Zed, and that's, you know.
Well, no, this is the present that you get for turning up on time, Papa Smithy.
I'm sure
punctuality always pays off.
Yeah, I'm sure the OGN Legion's super psyched to see one of those trademark picks for BDD. Ryan Gorilla definitely pushed up in lane and looking like they want to.
Well, they're just demonstrating their incredible skin synergy that they have right now. This is one of my favorite skin combinations in the entire game, and certainly wanting to put it on complete display for their opponents.
Yeah, BDD uses skins, so he's already set himself apart from some others of our prominent mid laners. Ryan Gorilla's laning phase is super good against Deft and Mata. They out 2v2'd them pretty significantly and had pressure in basically the entirety of the series against KT. So we know their mechanics are there. As we mentioned during the pregame, 4 out of the 5 players on Longzhu are top 10 in Korean Challenger, which is always a very respected accomplishment compared to some other ladders. People have always looked to the Korean one to be the best. Khan, the top laner, rank 9. Cuz, rank 3. BDD, rank 6. Prey, rank 1. And Gorilla, 89, wanting us to not speak about this anymore.
Even their substitute top laner rival sitting at rank 10, I believe, at the moment. So just filling up with Longzhu players up there towards the top side.
Yeah, Rascal and Justice, I think, are both around top 100. So having so many doing so well, but you know, they're probably not scrimming that much, I guess, if you think about it.
Well, BDD is going to be taking some Twin Fangs in lane here. It's going to take him a little while. Just wants to be able to get as much of this CS as he possibly can.
Yeah, he cancelled a couple of autos. Doran's shield, actually, if you think about it, against Cassiopeia,
is amazing, right?
On a simple level, but if you think about what it used to do, it used to actually take away 8 damage from Twin Fangs because single target spells were there as well. So I think it's probably around the same. I won't necessarily call it enough, but this is one of the few lanes where Doran's shield isn't just a complete massive upgrade like it so often is in the current meta.
Yeah. Now last hitting as well. So incredibly easy, what with Zed's passive at the same time. Oh my god.
That's the one thing Zed has never needed any help with, is last hitting.
Just thinking about the compound. I might even be able to last hit in this lane. Like, that would be outstanding.
We don't talk about your last hitting, Atlas.
No, I'm actually quite good at last hitting. It's just the rest of the stuff that I'm not very good at. That's why I get so excited about siege minions being taken.
And missed.
Oh, no, I don't get excited about that. That just, that ends my whole career. I can't even commentate anymore. Too many siege minions being gone. As we look towards the top side, though, both of these more aggressive top lane picks, just farming it out against one another.
Well, we kept a Doran shield counter yesterday, and we reached 16. We have 5 in this game.
Yeah, starting off strong.
That's a lot.
Oh, Bless is going to pop his way in.
W's on cooldown.
It's going to land. Sonic Wave, but not going to be able to complete the dive. That is a massive chunk out, though, so BDD does need to be careful.
It was good communication between the jungle and mid laner of BBQ. The W was on cooldown from Zed, so knew they weren't going to be able to realistically have kill pressure, but basically getting 60% of his HP for free is a mini objective in its own. It allows Bless to be a bit more frisky invading and just getting information about the pathing of Cuz.
Yeah, well, speaking of information, does mean that now the bottom lane can feel free to go a little bit more aggressive on the side of Longzhu. Already up by 6 CS. Interestingly enough, we've got a Doran's shield start for Ghost as well on the Caitlyn. Caitlyn has been one of those areas where, Doran's Blade is still an option, but deciding to go for even more control of this lane.
Yeah, the thought process really among Korean AD carries that I've spoken to is that even on, say, Caitlyn in a great matchup, say Caitlyn versus Lucian or something like that, the thought process is that the litany of stats and different things that Doran's shield provides still makes it categorically the best choice in bot lane of any option in any scenario. That lets you know the power level. Because people have said, well, people have been buying Doran's Blades and Doran's Rings on AD carries and mid laners forever. is it a problem that now Doran's Shield is the meta? And I just feel that the numbers are so strong that it crowds out champions. There are certain champions that are being considered less just because Doran's Shield, a starting item, is that powerful.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the combination of helping last hit, also being cheaper so you get an extra potion. It now feels like you can go scaling in almost any lane because between the Doran's Shield passive and also the general health regen it gives and also the extra potion, the risk reward of harassing in lane is now kind of, well, if you harass, he'll kind of regen back unless you can all in. So you're kind of rewarding people for playing passive. So it feels like too much has kind of been loaded onto Doran's Shield and the item made cheaper at the same time. And that means that even the Caitlyn's of the world are content with Doran's Shield. And that's the one point where I'm like, okay, guys,
yes, obviously something has gone wrong.
It's just a bit too powerful.
Yeah. And it rewards you also for going hyper-aggressive as well, because it's, of course, heal over time, but we're not seeing the Leonas. I believe you guys had a conversation about that yesterday. I
mean, the problem is you don't really burst people in lane, and you don't really have enough damage when it comes to cooldowns to kill people. You get a one full rotation, they get to 30% HP, pop a pot, and also the Doran's passive. You know, cooldowns are almost always scaling per level, so you just don't necessarily have the tools, even if you're aggressive-minded, to take advantage of windows in early laning phases.
Well, we've got a little bit of early roaming here by Khan, just popped over and grabbed that ward on the red buff. But you can see some very different starts here as Crazy's gone for the Balmy Cinder, so he wants to get that relatively nerfed Sunfire Cape. It's going to have a lot more of an assist as far as the wave clear is concerned. That dueling potential against Khan probably not going to be able to stand up to what he's done with this Phage pickup.
It's definitely a different texture of lane for Crazy compared to the lanes that Khan was taking him into. You have to respect Renekton early.
Very
you can't
true.
just go Tiamat and say, well, I'll kill him first, because it doesn't happen. Once Renekton hits 6, he has access to extra HP. He will just turn around and kill you, so he has to go defensive. And the defensive itemization, especially for tanks wanting to go health and armor, has been pretty significantly nerfed in this patch. Sunfire Cape, way toned down. It feels like Iceborne Gauntlet is kind of the best of the armor items, and even then, there's no health provided in it. It's more about the offensive capabilities, and you're not looking to go offensive against Renekton, so you're kind of in a bind, and Balmy Cinder might help with last hits, might help with harass a little bit, but definitely doesn't feel great.
No. Well, we'll see what Crazy decides to do after that particular pickup. I'd expect something like that Tiamat, just because it works so well with Jarvan.
Black Cleaver, Tiamat, into Titanic was the build we saw from Khan, and I think in any matchup that's short of a counter matchup like Renekton, that's where you'd be looking to go to.
Yeah. We'll see where he goes to next. Everyone just farming things out on the bottom side. Very, very even, though, as Varus being able to keep up with the Caitlyn, despite the range advantage. Just Prey and Gorilla demonstrating their prowess in the laning phase. Continuing that on from the KT series as well. You mentioned that certainly out-laning Deft and Mata.
Pretty handedly, and that was kind of a turnaround, because in summer season, it was Deft and Mata getting the better of those exchanges. In spring season, my apologies.
Yes.
So it was a change in fortune for the Longzhu bot lane.
West once again looking for BDD. We've got an ultimate going down on the bottom side of the map. That's going to be first blood, picked up by Gorilla. Pretty textbook stuff with the Cocoon landing and everything else being history.
Yeah, the first CC opening, whether it's the Chains of Corruption or the Zyra route, means the next ones will hit. Really nice stuff from Longzhu. Didn't have Kuz overstay. They'll give up a blue buff, but they'll certainly accept it if they can get first brick for it. And when you have Elise being able to go into Spider Form W and get the frenzied auto attacks, it's going to be a very quick turret.
Yeah. Able to take that one down. Red buff helping out there as well, so that is going to be first brick at the same time. First blood, first brick, 2,000k gold in the lead. Let's have a look at this. The sweet fancy angle as well.
Prey is always uniquely good at line skill shots on AD carries. I would venture a guess and proclaim it right now. He's probably the best at those initiation abilities of any AD carry in history. He is clutch in big games or even in regular season games like this, and he opened up, and from there, it's pretty textbook stuff for Longzhu game.
I do really love the fact that Kuz knew he needed to flash to get that Cocoon, though, in order to layer that on top before the Lantern was possible to be taken.
Yeah, it's respecting the Dark Passage, which we've always seen be so great for
evacuations.
evacuations.
Well, it was sitting there on top of Ghost. He would have been spam clicking that. No opportunity given. given Cuz's movements.
We've seen some great evacuation play. Gorilla on the Thresh on the first day. Even yesterday we saw Core JJ do some great stuff as well. Not Core JJ, sorry, but there was some great Thresh play yesterday as well. So all the Thresh mains, and there's plenty of them out there who've kind of been able to dust off the Thresh.
Yeah, and it always just feels good when Thresh is in the meta as well, because makes for some pretty fancy plays.
Lee Sin and Thresh, can't ask for much more, Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of,
yeah, both of them going to be enjoying some time here in the enemy jungle. DDD does need to be very careful. Shuts his ward down, so you can see the fact that his Raptors are going to be stolen away. Crazy. He's going to join this 5-man party in the mid lane. BBQ Olivers, I don't know, is this... It's time just to party in mid? Everyone, just get in there?
yeah, it felt like the lane was in an awkward spot for Crazy, so he just roamed down because the opportunity cost was 0. He wasn't just going to chill under turret. And if you notice, Khan has what feels like a really fast Black Cleaver without killing anyone.
Yeah. He's just been farming up a storm up towards the top side. Pretty much on the clock right now.
Item is slightly nerfed in terms of maximum armor shred. Went down 1% per stack, so 6% overall.
Yeah, 30% was the armor shred at max rank, now 24.
But I think, you know, it still occupies the same spot. No champion is going to drop Black Cleaver from their build unless items have changed elsewhere. So, for example, okay, Lucian may not be going towards the Black Cleaver as much with how strong crit itemization is, but everyone else, specifically the Bruiser, is going to stick with it.
Also a bit cheaper as well on the crit front. Anyway, Ghostblade now done for BDD as well. Been a bit quiet in the mid lane, but still just happy to farm things out, trying to get to this 1-3-1 possibility for Longzhu. With that first brick, no lane swap to be instigated here by Longzhu. I thought that they'd want to move towards the top side, have a look at that Rift Herald as well with some added pressure up there, but
on a simple level, the lane swap usually happens when the first tower goes down and sticking Zed in the side lane, right? That's always been one of the gold standards. I think they're happy to have Renekton in a short lane against the Jarvan for the longest time possible. Jarvan usually offers more in a team fight, so bullying the Jarvan top lane seems to be the priority, and they're in a great spot for Drake, although BBQ are looking.
Yeah, Hook's going to land here onto Cuz, though. Gets taken down to half health. Prey has been exhausted.
It's
now
crazy.
Cocoon lands quite nicely. The knockup does come in. Khan's going to teleport his way through. Has that dominance available if they need it. That is just going to spell disengage on the side of BBQ.
That's with Longzhu already picking up an objective, and sure, Longzhu don't get to get a turret in top lane as well because they did force the teleport from Khan, but you call that a micro victory at most and still advantage Longzhu.
Oh, most certainly. That early Ocean Drake, the earlier you get them, the better they are, feels like. Although Ocean Drake does get a lot of flack. I just think regen's good. I like to be able to take free damage, Papa Smithy.
These solo laners don't have any mana, so you could argue it's one of the lower value Ocean Drakes, and the lower value of the lowest value Drake equals bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad Drake roll, we'd call it.
Well, maybe just not as good as all of the other ones.
You're really being glass half full on your first cast. It's just the VOD you're submitting Riot Games when you're applying for Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, the Drakes are equally wonderful.
Yeah, well, no, look, I'm just an advocate for equality, Papa Smith. I don't know why this has to be a resume. It's not how it needs to be phrased.
It's a portfolio, more so.
Well, every cast should be considered a portfolio, Papa Smithy. All right, Rod of Ages is done, though. Tempt is just going to ignore what we were suggesting with the Zhonya's Hourglass, and it's just going to be straight in to all of that health stacking. Of course, it doesn't take as long to get to their max stacks anymore. Certainly handy.
No,
be all and end all, though.
No Seeker's Arm Guard, so it almost feels like Cassiopeia is waiting for Zed to enter other lanes.
Yeah, or just Tempt is happy to play back, right, and wave clear.
Well, then you just give Zed free farm, which also is of interesting value, but my read is that they're expecting Zed to enter side lanes, and Cassiopeia wants to stay mid lane because obviously wants access to blue buff and a short lane, and there's not going to be many short lanes on the Rift, given that Longzhu's sending so many people top. So it's almost saying, please leave lane, and it might actually just keep Zed in mid lane for longer than expected because he's not really respecting any sort of counter-engage by Tempt.
Yeah.
Ooh, the Rift Herald. Okay. Let's see if we see some priority. There were no Rift Heralds taken in Longzhu's series yesterday. I tell a lie. KT took one.
There was one, and it was woefully handled, I believe. Something to do with Pawn's Fizz dying for free.
Oh, Pawn.
Not a great time. But look, you see, this is why we love watching Pawn play, because you just never know. You never know which one you're going to get. It's like the variety bucket of mid lane. He can be a complete god, and he can be a complete disaster.
Well, I'm waiting to see the god side. Please introduce me to the god Pawn.
I believe he played Morgana 2015 in a side.
I closed my 2014 VODs page and haven't seen the god side too many times since.
Oh dear.
Look, optimism is there for Pawn, but needs to get some runs on the board soon. We're making cricket analogies already.
Yeah, we're back there already, Papa Smithy. It's like we never left. Okay, well, the Rift Herald's just being looked at on both sides.
They want to get their lanes in the perfect spot here. Renekton can push in as all this happens. Note that Renekton can't be there, so top lane teleports are down. The Elise can solo, or always has actually been able to solo Rift Herald, so it doesn't take any damage from it reliably. They pull it out. It should be.
Yeah,
first Rift Herald of the night.
So, they caught Totoro backing, meaning that Longzhu will have the man advantage, and with Khan having all that pressure on the bottom side, it is no worries at all. So, a few minutes, and we will see that crazy angry bug running up a lane. See how many turrets he can smash down with that big old head of his.
We haven't seen many top laners be able to pick up Rift Herald and then basically have a team, like bait a team fight on the other side, have the other person complete, and just put down the Rift Herald and take turret charge. That's something you can do if people are unable to react, but it's been more of just being used when 3 people already grouped. It's been a group and then icing on the cake for a turret rather than necessarily something being used on the other side of the map. So that's kind of the usage I'm waiting to see. This is not going to be the game for that. But you look at Longzhu's side, and the wave clear is pretty heavily gated around the bot lane. So taking turrets with melee champions is always a pretty tricky thing to pull off. So it feels like it's going to be the insurance for a push rather than necessarily going to be the highly strategic macro use of Rift Herald that I know I'm personally waiting for.
Well, I do like what Longzhu have put together to try and mitigate that factor as well, though, with the fact that they want to split push so much. You know, they've got that pick composition available to them with the cocoons, with the R out of Varus as well.
The Chains of Corruption.
Don't know how I lost Chains of Corruption. Varus is one of my favorite players.
It's a good alt name.
Varus, my favorite players, my favorite champions.
Oh, Varus might be a player. I don't know what he gets up to in his free time.
And he's got the Heartseeker skin as well.
That's true.
So,
that's pretty on the nose if you think about it.
That's
but my question is,
Varus.
will he and Vayne like or dislike each other because they're both Heartseekers?
Ooh, I don't know.
Probably
what about Ashe?
That's a fair question. What about Ashe?
Yeah.
Well, the headbutt there does a lot of burst damage, as we know, but no one else is really being able to get into range to use this Rift Herald, so this is a bad Rift Herald.
Yeah, still does a lot of damage to that mid lane out of turret.
But not getting a single turret from Rift Herald is certainly on the poor side. It feels like 1.5 at minimum is what you should expect, so wasn't really well coordinated there. Cuz was kind of the one that had to pull the trigger, and in the end, only got them the chunk out.
Probably just felt like that time limit wasn't being too friendly to him, so needed to put it down somewhere fast. But Dragon is going to be coming up. It's going to be a second Ocean Drake here for Longzhu.
I'll say it now. I'll say it again, I'm sure. I think Rift Herald is not a buff for junglers. I feel like laners get more value out of it because the jungler is usually going to be stepping over wards as he moves around the map, and there's a degree of obviousness when a jungler takes the Rift Herald about when it's going to be used. I prefer, say, a Zed, for example, roaming around and using it, or the laner with teleport. In this case, it was all a bit simple and was well defended in the end by BBQ.
Yeah, throw down all of these traps here as well. Of course, no one being able to make it up there, so Tempter's going to clean out this lane once again. And Khan is doing a great job just staying ahead of Crazy this entire game.
I mean, as we know, all these 3 outer turrets for BBQ are super low in every lane, so the standing gold is ready to be obtained. It's 3,000 or 2,500 gold lead for Longzhu, but very soon it will be much more. So it feels like we're kind of on the tipping point for this game starting to snowball away from BBQ Olivers.
And if it doesn't, BBQ Olivers have a team composition that's going to be able to do fantastic things in the late game. Cassiopeia, everyone knows her damage potential, and Caitlyn being such long range, such high damage when it comes to, 3-4 items.
And compared to most Cassiopeia comps, they have initiation. Jarvan, if he does one thing, it's shout about his region and jump in and initiate. So at the end of the day, they have strong initiation. As you say, very strong team fighters. If Tempt and Ghost are allowed to kite back and they have the threat of the Cassiopeia ultimate with 3 or 4 item Caitlyn. 5v5s is not what Longzhu has drafted for in the slightest. Top lane, mid lane, even Varus, neither of these champions excel in the team fight phase. So it's going to be much more about splitting the map open, and that's easy enough to do when you're ahead, which Longzhu clearly are. But you lose a couple of fights, your control wards are cleared, you haven't been in position to put down the trinket wards, and suddenly setting up split pushing can be very difficult. We've seen teams as recently as yesterday, Afrika, struggle to pull off coherent split pushes. So we will not give Longzhu this game until considerably further in, because the turnaround for BBQ is clear from their draft.
Most certainly is. Onus seems to be on Longzhu to make the proactive play, and you saw how much respect they were giving to BBQ underneath that turret. They had a full minion wave shoved up to this outer right here, but with 2 people underneath, a petrifying gaze there ready to stare them down. Just weren't able to pull that trigger. And we'll move towards the top side and grab the second outer turret of the game.
They've actually taken this one with pretty low vision. They have control wards in the river, but no advanced vision of the enemy red side. They kind of have to fear the flag and drag from Jarvan, or the kick flash from Lee Sin, or even Cassiopeia. So getting the sort of vision you'd expect for their lead is harder for them to pull off than you'd imagine, because there's so much counter-engage from BBQ.
Now they should be able to make it forward. Only the bottom lane here hanging out underneath this turret, and Prey's happily harassing. We'll just move around this trap line. Throws out the ult, doesn't find anyone.
Cast a curse.
Chains of oops in the mid lane.
You could have done better than that. Try again.
No, I'm going to go chains of oops. I liked it. This isn't about you, Pub City.
I just want to give the viewers the best Atlas. I'm giving them this Atlas instead.
Oh, no. I don't know. Some of your puns yesterday
Quite punny.
were pretty good.
Thank you. I tried really hard.
Yeah, I could tell. I could certainly tell. You know that they're a really bad one when you know that they're ironically that bad that they're good, you
Exactly.
know? Ugh.
Hey, I don't write them any of them down. This is stream of consciousness. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good.
Yeah. No, it was good. I think a bad pun is only better the worse it is. As confusing as that sounds.
I'm confused. I don't want to think about puns anymore.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, it's just the battle for vision. Everyone trying to gather it towards the top side of the map. Longzhu were able to get rid of some of the control wards, but BBQ able to get some vision down regardless.
I thought we built up BDDZ, which we still will hopefully see some cool things from, and so far it's been just farming phase for him.
Yeah, sort of everywhere. So we've got a super high damage build coming out from Kuz here as well, going for the Leandri's Torment and those Sorcerer's Shoes as well. Not wanting to go for those mobility boots to get himself around the map faster. Instead, he wants to be able to kill things more easily. But so far, he's only helped do that once this game, and we're at 24 minutes in.
I think the theory behind the build, because of course we see tank Elise and this more pick-oriented Elise pretty interchangeably, is we already said they can't team fight. Why buy team fighting tank options?
Yeah, well, that's true.
Getting a pick and then split push, and getting a pick and then objective. Speaking of picks,
oh, boom!
Jesus!
That's why he picked up those items. I mean, there was help there by Gorilla, but I think that was a couple of plant auto attacks, Papa Smithy, and otherwise, that was Elise in, go boom.
My Elise does not do as much damage as Kuz's Elise. That's why he's rank 3, Atlas.
Oh, yeah. In fact, the higher you go in Challenger solo queue, the higher the damage that you do just in general. It's one of those
I need to get
passives.
in there and copy his rune page for Elise. That's what I've learned.
His rune page is just billions of damage. I'm pretty sure.
And I imagine Blesses doesn't have much magic resist is what I'm taking away from that.
Tokoro is going to die. There it is. Everything's going to land. It's all too easy. DDD says, well, I'll just grab the kill credit for that one because I feel like it. But that's just the amount of CC that they have. The Baron was an option. Totoro had to ward it.
But they've built for this. They've got a lead that made BBQ face check. What is the next piece of the puzzle? Because it hasn't been a Baron start, even though they have really good Baron damage.
And vision. Look at how many wards they have around here.
So that's why we look at the picks, right? Those were cool, deleted, etc. After that, nothing has really happened. BD pushed in a minion wave. Renekton recalled. The value of those picks when it comes to objectives, because of course League of Legends since what, Season 2 has been turn a pick into an objective.
Yeah.
Picks by themselves, especially against an outscale comp, are not enough. I'm waiting for the next part, so I feel like Longzhu could have done something coordinated. I feel like they didn't really do anything. They didn't get deep vision, they didn't take objectives. They're going to get a free Drake, but they would have got a free Drake whether they got 2 picks or not with how much map pressure they've had. waiting for Longzhu to get to that next strategic level because, again, late game team fighting is not the bastion here for Longzhu to get back into the game.
The confusing battle around the Dragon as Bless may not actually be able to take. He's not going to. The Baron could kill him. No. Going to be able to flash that wall, but he stayed in that pit way too long. So that Mountain Drake is going to fall in favor of Longzhu, but not entirely sure what Bless thought he'd be able to achieve there, battling both the support and top laner of Longzhu.
Turn to the split push. This time BDD on the bot side, so this lets BBQ go, well, we're going to find it hard to put wards around Baron, but are they really going to take it when BDD can't rotate? Doesn't have a global.
Good point. Let's see whether BDD is going to turn that BF sword into Guardian Angel, now that you can.
Seems very likely. It's one of the indirect buffs to 80 bruises that scale on AD, is that Guardian Angel's now their own item. We're in a real, it's very interesting what's happened. I don't know if we'll have enough time to talk about it just now. Never mind, it's just crazy.
Steal happened. Unable to pick up that Grom.
He's definitely a lot more exposed than he knows, but Bless doesn't have the backup, and they kind of see Zyra and other members coming through, so he thinks better of it.
There may have been an opportunity, but obviously the team call is no, let's not overextend when Baron is right here. You could possibly lose out. Passively, Longzhu have made themselves a 6,000 gold lead, what with the 3 turrets to nothing that they've picked up and this farming advantage, especially towards the top side, and now predominantly on the bottom side as well with a 30 CS lead for Prey.
BBQ doesn't feel like they can make anything happen. They have no control of their waves. The control wards have been sticking for a long time. Feels like we're just waiting for another face check. It almost seems inevitable at this point.
Well, Baron has been started. There's only an AD carry and a mid laner in there. Let's start that one up just yet. The farming of minions continues towards the bottom side as Gorilla's going to be tagged by the Sonic Wave. Leandro's Torment picked up very, very early.
He's actually had it for about 5 minutes. Yeah. So lets you know how much gold he was sitting on. Maybe the quest was relevant there. We haven't really talked much about the support items, but the support quest seems to have been in full effect. If you notice, Gorilla's getting a little burst of movement speed whenever he hits an ability, and that lets you know the quest is complete. Yep. Thankfully, Riot hasn't clogged up all the things saying the quest completed, quest completed.
I'd actually like that, you know?
It's nice to watch.
Yeah, it's nice. Thanks, Bob Smith. Well, Dominus has been popped here towards the bottom side of the map. Crazy says, well, I've got a shield, and I've got a heck of a lot of health items, so I am going to be okay. But I think Khan was just bored, more than anything else, because I don't think he was ever thinking that he'd be able to actually kill Jarvan that's built a lot of health underneath the turret.
Not at this point in the game, no.
Message was received, though.
And also, message received by BDD. Picked up the Guardian Angel, like you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, the cool thing is that it now feels like AP and AD champions have been given something that wasn't exclusive to them before. Because if you think about it, no one really built Banshee Veil before, and now it fits into an AP build because you're not giving up a slot on an item that doesn't give up any ability power. Now, will it replace QSS? Quite possibly. There might be games where you start QSS and then sell it for Banshee Veil later, just so that you don't have a slot that's just giving you 25 magic resist and nothing else. You know, the old days of AP champions picking up the Mercurial Scimitar are probably gone. But then you think on the side of the AD champions, now they almost exclusively have Guardian Angel. Now it's no longer a tank item, not even a mage item in many cases, now an AD item. So it's interesting that two very powerful defensive effects, the Spell Shield and the Revive passive, are almost, you know, you almost have very distinct lines on who can get them and who can't.
Yeah, exclusivity just a little bit. Of course, Zhonya's Hourglass, another opportunity for mages that they've always had, and something that, as an AD carry, I've personally always wanted to be able to have. You know, those times where you twitch and you feel like everyone's just throwing every ability that they have at you, and if you could just use your Zhonyas, you'd feel good.
Crazy's coming in here, remember, it's Crazy.
Yeah, gonna get the double knock up here as well. Gorilla immediately gonna get destroyed. Prey takes a lot of damage. Crazy gets stunned right at the end though, and in comes Khan. Prey's gonna pick it up with the piercing arrow, and Cuz, with all of this damage, is getting rid of the Jarvan. BDD throws down the death mark. Ghost in trouble. He should actually fall from this one as BDD pops him. And look at Longzhu, they're tearing them up. It's a double kill for BDD, and Crazy is dead as well. This will be Baron in exchange for the bottom lane.
The kiting back there from Longzhu was so good. We talked about BBQ's teamfight comp, but the terrain they were fighting around forced them to lose auto attacks and spells chasing the members of Longzhu. And it was a chase because Longzhu was playing a game of cat and mouse. They wanted to open up space to allow BDD to finally be able to combine his threats with the team. You see the replay, and Prey is very overextended. Clearly he is. Goes down low, flashes out. Zyra's dead, but she's already used her spells. And from here, it's about buying time for BDD. Prey's not even really in this fight. They're fighting on different quadrants, but they waste enough time with Renekton just looking strong for BDD to jump in. He's going to get that nice load of AD from killing the Caitlyn. And they buy enough time that never did we get the value of Cassiopeia and Caitlyn auto-attacking and twin-fanging down the same champion. Those are the sort of fights where BBQ can win. But for them to get those fights, they need to be fighting around much smaller objectives.
Well, another Deathmark's going to come in here as Ghost. Oh, he doesn't get hit by any of the shurikens, and that's going to spell safety for the Caitlyn.
NAZ. If he had any ability, she would have died.
Yes.
Q went wide. Not to be that time.
He doesn't have his Duck's Blade yet. As soon as he gets that, I mean, all he needs to do is just one empowered auto attack as well as the Deathmark.
Kind of the weird thing to read here, though, is that it actually took BBQ initiating for Longzhu to get a big advantage in this game. We talk so much about what will they do with their advantage, their pressure advantage, etc. And it really took a misplay, or at least a botched play from BBQ to get Longzhu what now feels like the sort of lead they've craved for the last 5-6 minutes. No one's going to be sent into lane very reliably against BDD. And they lose all 3 outer turrets in an instant.
Absolute instant. A little too easy for Khan as well there on the bottom side. His Spirit Visage completed as well as his Warden's Mail, that newly buffed anti-crit of the Randuin's Omen. So whether it is going to work out or whether he's even going to be able to build it here. This game is looking like it's circling the drain for BBQ.
There's no incentive for Longzhu to look for a team fight again. They're going to stay 1-3-1. Renekton pushing in one lane, Zed pushing in the other with Baron buff on both of them. Something has to give. There's not enough wave clear on the BBQ side to survive in all 3 lanes. The chunks are real, and there the base is broken.
Yeah, Crazy's just going to blow up another one. That Banshee's Spell, you know, if this was an earlier patch, would have been like, oh, he went for a defensive option. Nope, he most certainly did not. Because I believe actually last time he played around, he had went for the Dead Man's Plate build with the Abyssal Scepter there as well. So now newly a tank item. Works actually very, very well on Elise if you're going that tanky route.
And it's cool that he's flexible.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Because you noted the fact that, hey, he's building a lot of damage. They played around him having pick pressure, and he also built to fit a situation where true 5v5 run at BBQ was never in the playbook for Longzhu. So having the understanding of the game to tailor your build to the situation isn't something you can always take for granted, because we don't always see it, even at the highest level.
Well, Chance of Corruption are going to land. Zhonya's is going to be used right as the Lantern flies out. Hanging around down here as well, and BBQ, if they're going to protect this inhibitor, they're going to need to start a fight. Good hook to start things off for Totoro as he throws down the box. But look at all of the AoE damage coming in. Totoro just, I don't even think he really got hit by anything, but just subsequent damage, and he's down to like no health.
Down 2 inhibitors, just clearing away super minions. BBQ did one proactive thing this whole game, it feels like, and that really kind of was the last nail on their coffin, and from there, they've honestly just been onlookers. It's been Longzhu just doing, reliably pushing up, looking for a pick, waiting for a mistake, and I would argue too much, but at the end of the game, the result is so almost inevitably going to be them picking up the match victory as triple Ocean Drake now.
Yep, that is a lot of regen, but like you said, a team that doesn't necessarily need regen in the mana department very much. QSS now done for Prey. Wants to make sure he's never going to get picked off in any way. Bless, quite possibly dead. Lands a couple of shurikens that time around, but pop, not enough at all.
Once again, didn't hit either of his spells. Had already used full rotation before, and well, there's not that much armor on the side of Bless. The health quotient was enough for him not to go down.
Yeah, Ninja Tabi is still just good enough. This Khan misses the slice.
BD will have better Zed games than this, but Longzhu's Zed game and playing around pressure lanes is kind of the bigger takeaway, is that even with BDD doing decently, grouping when he needed to, and largely just farming, 0-0-0 for the first 25 minutes, it's Longzhu's ability to play around a pressure comp is the bigger takeaway for this game. It's what you'll remember over, sadly for us, a sick outplay from the Zed.
Yeah. And I mean, in a 1v1 against a jungler at full health, built a fair few survivability items. BDD now hunting underneath this turret.
Not a lot of cooldown on that ultimate when he has 40% CDR.
Yeah, Gorilla's got himself Banshee's Veil as well, Pop Smithy. The watch completed, so that's a lot of damage coming out of the Zyra. In fact, you see this as a sort of triple AD composition. Oh, they're not going to have much magic damage. Turns out they've actually got a hell of a lot of magic damage.
At least Zyra is at least 1.5 AP carries.
Oh, yeah.
And when you do well in lane, you know, with how early the Andres was there, the base values are huge.
Chance Corruption are going to land. That's a lot of damage. Good hook to stop BDD, but it's not going to. He just gets destroyed. Toltero in trouble as well as Khan makes his way in. He picks up a kill for his trouble. And Petrifying Gaze is only on the Renekton, who just seems unkillable right now. Spirit Visage keeping him alive for a very long time is Tempt. He's in trouble. BDD needs to actually find an ace here if he wants to get to his 6-0-5 scoreline, but I don't think it's going to happen. He's still undefined as he's unkilled throughout the summer split so far, and Longzhu Gaming continue their onslaught.
As you say, BDD has not died in 3 games. Longzhu have not dropped a game either. Largely a great performance from Longzhu. The builds made sense. The first pick, Elise, was profited on. It wasn't just Elise is a strong jungler. It really did open up some physical damage lanes with both Zyra and Elise put together. They played to their draft. They looked solid doing it. And Longzhu Gaming, the fans are going to continue to smile. The converts are going to start coming through because Longzhu Gaming, more and more, are looking like a complete package.
Yeah, this is the team that we wanted to see back up their performance against KT, because like you said, when expectations are on them, it can get difficult. However, hasn't looked like it so far. However, it's only game number 1, and you know that things can change.
And honestly, what you have to hope for is the off-the-field issues for Longzhu are finally over. There's been so many splits now where it's turned out something went awry, left or right, and things fell apart. This may still happen in the summer season, but I, for one, are hoping we get a full split of them focusing on the game, really bringing their next level play.